Hey there, everybody. I am here to I'll explain how I took the ECU out of my 1996 Lexus LS400. There are a few videos out there on the internet explaining how to do this and why to do this, but I wanted to share my experience because I think it's slightly different from what others have shown on videos. So let's get right to it. Uh, Reasons why you should do this. Obviously, these cars are a little under, a little over 30 years old now at this point. And in the 90s, cars from Japan had capacitors that were known to leak. And this is one of those affected cars. So I wanted to take apart the ECU, see if they are leaking. And if they are, I'm going to send it to someone who can do it better than I can. So I had to take the ECU out of the car in order to do that. I will show you now what's going on here. So this is the ECU in my car. Here's the model number if you need that. I would just suggest getting the one you have in the car repaired versus sending it, versus getting another unit with the same model number, just because you may end up with one that also has leaky capacitors. So I'm going to kind of try to explain how I took this apart backwards. So this bracket has two screw holes right here. They line up with the two screw holes here, and the bracket kind of sits like this. And this part with the slots sits on the top side of the car, which I will show you in a second here. And then this bracket that looks like this sits on the ECU kind of like that, and it's facing the bottom of the car near where the footwell is, near the end. And they're attached with these small screws right here. If you have a JIS screwdriver, I would suggest using that since that's probably what these are. Also thought I would film my ECU for reference. So this is pretty simple here. You just take the 6 screws out of the bottom. That panel should just kind of come up. This board is typically leaning down like this. So just take all of the bolts out and make sure you have them in order so you can put them back in the same way. And then gently, because of these ribbon cables, they are probably pretty old at this point, gently move them so that the board kind of swivels up like this. And from what I can tell, I was looking pretty closely. Here's 2 right there. And then there's 2 over here. And then I've got a couple more down here. But honestly, the 6 or so that I can see so far do not look like they're bulging or have any leaking on the board. That does not mean that they're good. So I will still be sending this off to have someone look at it and determine whether they need to be replaced. But that's what I see so far. I guess we will see how this goes. Okay, we are now in the passenger footwell. It would be the reverse if it was a Toyota Celsior or right-hand drive car. So most of the videos on the internet explain how to remove the kick panel. It's pretty simple. That's just a hand pry. I have it back here. If you can see, there's clips on the upper side, one here, one in the middle, and then one pretty far down there. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Yeah, that one right there. And then these 2 hooks down on the bottom. Not too tough, I would say, as long as you're pulling straight. Once you've got that kick panel removed, then you've got to do the glove box, which is also, I'd say, not super complicated. There are, let me show you the clips for a second. So there's a clip right here. That's on the top side of the glove box, or sorry, bottom side, don't know which one. Another one here in the middle, and another one here closer to the end. This is a swivel socket. I think it's for a light. You can twist that out kind of like if you're changing a bulb. And then this, you can also kind of pry from the other side once you have the glove box open. The actual light or other assembly looks like this. So there's a clip on this side, and I'm assuming there's also one on the other side. But if you come at it with the glove box down and push it out from the other side, that should work. There are 3 screws up here near the top of the glove box on this ridge. Remove those 3, and then there are 2 bolts. One here that's on a stud, and then another one over here that I believe is, yeah, it's right here. There's a square panel inside the glove box near the bottom that you can pull out, and that's where that second bolt connects right there. Take that out, and then you should be able to just kind of pry it pretty gently down. The one thing that I feel like I had to do that most people who are recording this video did not at least show was removing the CD changer. There is a video on the 98 to 2000 models on how to do that, but I wanted to throw that in here. It also works on the 96. The process is the same. So you pull that access door open. There are 2 screws up top. There's one right here, and then there's another one over here. Once you undo those, there are 2 bolts, one on this side right there, and then another one on the other side over here. There's also a couple of screws that are holding in the little metal frame on the door that opens. Make sure you get those. I think there's about 2 or 3 of them. Looks like 1, 2, 3, potentially 4. I would just remove everything on this rail so that you don't mess your door up. Then you should be able to kind of also pry from the top from right about this ridge, and the panel will come off, but the changer will stay in place. There are 4 bolts holding that changer in. One's on the stud right there. There is another one over here, also on a stud right there. There's a third one that I believe goes into here, and then the 4th one goes right here. Once you do that, you don't have to take the whole thing out. I just kind of swiveled mine to the side. The reason why I had to take this CD changer out is because there is a bracket up here, right there. If you see those 2 studs, that's where the top of that ECU bracket bolts to. And there's a couple of other control units in here that are hanging out. You know, they tell you to unhook all of these connectors. Yes, that's a good idea, and you should do that. Since everything kind of naturally falls into place when you put it back together anyways, or at least that's what it looks like is going to happen. But I could not get to the 2 bolts up here without maybe getting really creative, and I did not want to strip them. So it's a lot easier to just move this CD changer, and once you have enough clearance, you can just get in here sideways with whether it's a wrench or a ratchet and get them that way. So that's what ended up working for me. And I'll just show you the bottom part. The other mount for the ECU attaches to this stud right here. So really, once you get those 2 out, you can actually pull all 3 assemblies out at the same time. I ended up piecemealing and doing them one at a time. But the hope is that this comes back together pretty seamlessly here. The last thing I'd say is the cabin air filter is right here. You actually can get to it without removing the glove box, but I would just, check it while you're in here. Mine was actually pretty nasty, and I don't think was changed before I took ownership of the car. So, yeah. Hope y'all liked that. If there's anything else you want to see on the LS, feel free to give the video a like and subscribe for more, and I will catch y'all next time. Bye-bye.